My name is Jasmine, and today we will have some lovely talks by Berta, Isabel, and David, who will be sharing their papers on a caring ethos in transdisciplinary sustainability science and social-ecological systems research. So whenever you're ready, Berta, take it away.
Thank you, Jasmine. So first, thank you all for being here. We welcome you on the second global conversation on social-ecological systems. But as a caring practice, I want to start by thanking those who normally are behind the scenes and we keep forgetting. So first, Jasmine, to host this session today, Marina Frisch, who helped us to organize the whole session, Patricia Santillán-Carvantes, who is doing all the technical work, and Julien Hule, who is doing the graphical recording. Sorry for my way of pronouncing your German surname, Julien. Yeah, without this work behind the scenes, this won't be possible. But also, I want to start by acknowledging our debt to those who helped us find our way because we wanted to deviate from the paths we were told to follow, as is put by Sarah Hammett. So although we are here today, David, Lam, Isabel from Leipzig, and myself, we are simply the messengers of the papers that we are going to present. And people behind that is Rachel Staffa, Maraya, the Care Operative, Jessica, Mai, and Petra. So thank you for this great work and for allowing us today to present these papers. So many of you might, well, a bit of the agenda. I will now very briefly say why a caring ethos in social-ecological systems research and sustainability science. Then David Lam will present in elevator pitch format the first paper, then Isabel, and then myself. And after that, we will have a Q&A session, plus later caring practices, reflexive caring practices, and we will finish with haikus. So let's see how it goes. So many of you might ask why caring ethos in social-ecological systems research or sustainability science. So these are a few thoughts. Why? Because we are working with social-ecological systems. And we do care about the biosphere, and we do care about creating just societies. But this is often not possible, and we have the climate change crisis, the biodiversity crisis, we have marginalized communities, and all of these have a toll in ourselves in the form of challenging emotions like grief. On the top of that, our Western society, we praise the busyness and productivity that permeates in our community, in academia. And academia is basically based on competition. So we have to prove again and again that we are worthy. This proving again and again that we are worthy can lead to anxiety, can lead to feeling that we don't belong to academia, can lead to many other challenging emotions. And the fact is, yesterday I heard that 42% of the PhD students in Germany have mental diseases right now this year. And it's more than 50% in United States. So this means that all of these challenging emotions, all of this overdoing and overdoing to prove that we are worthy has a toll in ourselves, in the form that is expressed in the form of mental and physical diseases. So caring in this context is a daily practice, but it's also an ethical political obligation for our own self-preservation, in the words of Audre Lorde, but also to build a community based on inclusivity and cooperation and compassionate researchers. Recognize that there are injustices and thrive or work hard for justice, and also try to foster human nature connections to preserve all forms of life. So this is why we set up this session, and without any more comments, I will now move to the elevator pitch by David Lamb. Okay, so this is for you, and I'm going to zoom in. Yes, there.
So, hello, I'm David and currently coordinating the project TD Academy, which is a community platform for transdisciplinary researchers. And you're all more than invited to join this community. My motivation in this project is to improve the relational aspects of transdisciplinary research, especially between researchers and practitioners and for early career researchers. My transdisciplinary research with NGOs in Romania brought me in connection with my co-authors Isabel, Jessica Coburn, and Petra Holden, who are also conducting transdisciplinary research in different topical and cultural contexts. Together, we formed a community of practice and discussed our ambitions to do meaningful and impactful transdisciplinary research, but also methodological and personal challenges of doing such research. Today, I want to invite you to reflect on transdisciplinary research as a relational space which comprises of science, society, and yourself. Sustainability researchers are increasingly turning to transdisciplinary research to address the complex challenges of the Anthropocene and to co-produce scientific and societal impact. This type of scholarship involves careful, time-consuming collaborations with societal actors to co-produce solutions to often complex issues, while making sure values, preferences, and ownership are carefully taken into account. While it is well established that transdisciplinary researchers have to meet the demands of achieving both scientific rigor and societal relevance, our paper reflects on the often unspoken and underrated demand of self. Self represents the aspiration of health and well-being of the researcher and the ability to recognize the connections between the researcher and the system in which they operate, thus especially the people and nature with whom researchers collaborate. This includes practicing self-care, but also reflexivity, where the researcher is learning about his or her identity, role, positionality, and influence in the research project, and in a wider context in which the researcher are embedded. Currently, there's a growing debate on mental health in academia. Recent studies show that PhD students have a significantly higher risk of depression and other mental health issues compared to other highly educated groups. As a transdisciplinary researcher, engaging with sustainability issues and research that seeks to have a societal impact, well-being for yourself relates to dealing with emotions of despair and powerlessness in the face of the challenges of the Anthropocene, as well as balancing and prioritizing among diverse demands related to science and society that affect your future life and career. This demands emotional and psychological competencies such as self-awareness, time management, as well as a deeper level of reflexivity. We postulate that poor attention to self and self-care impacts the quality of transdisciplinary research. Recognizing self in transdisciplinary research means that we acknowledge our influence on the systems under study, which is necessary to do rigorous science. Acknowledgement of self also impacts the quality of how society is engaged, and more reflexivity means more meaningful engagement with external partners, thereby improving relations. Thus, from our perspective, being able to care and prioritize aspects associated with self results in more robust transdisciplinary research. For this reason, we proposed the triple S heuristic, which describes a relational space within which transdisciplinary researchers engaged with science, society, and self. Out of this heuristic emerges the realization that conducting transdisciplinary research is a deeply relational process. Following the principle of relationality, transdisciplinary research can be understood as a process that emerges at the interface of science, society, and self, thus connecting the researcher, the society in which they are embedded, and the academic system in which they operate. The challenge is how to navigate the space in a caring and ethical manner. Since the three aspects are in such a tight relation to one another, the challenge is less about keeping the three in balance or managing trade-offs between them, but to navigate and embody the relational space between the three components. However, current academic environments, institutional structures, cultures, and metrics of success are creating trade-offs between these three aspects. This perpetuates mental health issues, but also decreases the ability to address the actual complexity of the sustainability challenges we are trying to solve. So we need a shift in the academic system for researchers to effectively include self and self-care in research. And with these thoughts, I look forward to your comments and discussion later. Thank you very much.
Isabel, we move to your presentation. Oh, sorry. Yes, here it goes.
So thank you, David, and hello, everyone. I'm Isabel, and I would like to share with you the results of a collective effort under the pseudonym of Dr. Care. And today I'm representing a group of 20 early interdisciplinary scholars from mostly across Europe, but also Mexico, China, US, and Canada. Some of my colleagues are also between us today. And we were brought together as part of the first cohort of the Postdoc Academy for Transformational Leadership, which is a program funded by the Bosch Foundation, Robert Bosch Foundation. And it's a program, training program on transformational leadership, sustainability, and food systems that took place between 2018 and 2020. So over this period, we have the opportunity to share our individual career paths and interests, but also on the academic system that we are part of. And these exchanges foster our vision about collective leadership that we believe is necessary for sustainability transformations, but which is not currently encouraged or rewarded in the academic system. On the contrary, sorry, next, I'm trying to make, So the current academic system actually fosters unsustainable conditions. And we see this is not only in terms of professional and personal lives.
Sorry, interrupting you because I can't pass the slide. Something happens. So I'm going to stop sharing the screen and share it again, because it might be, yeah, okay.
Yeah, so then I wait better and I continue with, so that.
Sorry for that. Yeah, this is technology and, okay, now it goes. I don't know what has happened. I'm very sorry, but we couldn't share. Okay, again, here.
There is it.
There it goes, right?
So, as I was saying, we had this opportunity as part of this postdoc academy to share our interests and personal pathways, but also thinking about the academia that we are part of. And we started our reflection thinking about the barriers for transformational leadership, and we identified firstly the push toward metrics, so that excellence right now in academia is mostly exclusively evaluated in terms of individual output-based metrics, and such as the number of first and last author publications. So within this triggers competition and discourages researchers from investing into collaborative processes, which are a key part of transdisciplinary research. Also, the cutthroat competition on career, progressing as a leader in sustainability science, often requires individuals to sacrifice work-life balance, that David and Berta has been talking about that, and at the expense of well-being, but also the impermanence that undermines the ability to form long-term collaborations, and the deprioritization of care that squeezes scientifically talented women and minorities out of the leaky pipeline. And finally, also that despite the cost for an investment in more inter and transdisciplinary research, funding remains heavily structured around disciplines and sectors. So we thought that this should be fostered through a different trajectory. For example, from individual merits, metrics to collaborative merits, that in the measurement of scientific excellence, that to acknowledge and reward collaborative merits that often require more time and resources, and also from the personal sacrifices over careers to cooperative and caring academic systems. For example, supporting family-friendly working environments, practices and facilities, and especially rewarding caring as a valuable leadership attribute. And also from disciplinary boundaries to true transdisciplinarity that today still faces multiple barriers, such as the lack of a common recent framing, unbalanced problem ownership, and methodological conflicts. So to tackle these three systemic patterns that we observe, we think we need to change how we as sustainability researchers and leaders science, we work together. So in October 2019, we formed the Care Operative, a leadership collective experiment that provides a space of support for sharing professional and personal experiences, to put together and connecting different perspectives and position in sustainability transformations, and for developing collective leadership skills through self-organization and distributed responsibility and mutual respect. And this caring space is enabling us to pursue a common goal of exploring, embodying, and living transformational sustainability research and practice. And to do so, we are building on three main values. Sorry, it's a little bit messy that Berta has to change the slides for me. And so we're building on three main values. The first one is critical reflection on existing practices and learning in order to challenge the structures that reinforce these problematic leadership ideas and to transform how collective leadership is defined and embodied. Also, we're building on inclusivity as a foundation to address the systemic marginalization of people that are excluded from traditional leadership roles, and to embrace diverse perspectives and knowledge, and also on care for the people and for the planet, through the recognition of the individual's situation, the active listening and development of trust and ongoing expressions of solidarity. And by recognizing that there is a need for long-term partnerships and engagement beyond an individual's career. So in this way, we consider that the Care Operative is different from other academic and professional networks we take part, because our aim is to really achieve more than outputs. So we see three main ways in which the Care Operative is helping us to develop this collective and transformative leadership for sustainability. And we have this representation analogous to a healthy agroecosystems for leadership collectives. And we think they need to provide nourishing conditions for collective leadership to flourish, first of all, through building on an ethics of care. And by this, we mean that we work on non-hierarchical and not competitive way. And this has led us, for example, to publish collectively under the pseudonym of Dr. Care. But also they need to exchanging with others to enrich and diversify, building on inclusivity. So what we do is we use the experience of the Care Operative to open discussions in home institutions on values of leadership, collectives, and care. For example, today this presentation is part of this pollinating that we aim for. And we also see the Care Operative as a seed for change, in which critical reflection, we can encourage new collaborative approaches and actions to emerge. So in our way of working, we have, for example, internally created a code of collaboration, and we are using consensus-driven decision-making principles. And also externally, we want to pursue different formats for transformative collaboration, but also realize the need for the continuous critical reflection on the challenges, especially of inclusivity, especially given that our group is not very diverse, as we are mostly from the global north. So also it's important to recognize that while we are excited about our living experiment, we realize also and we acknowledge that this would not fit every environment. So this is not one size fits all, and different situations, institutions would need different types of leadership. And in case you are interested, you can find more information on the work we are doing on the chat. So we have a couple of blog entries, we have our paper, or also you could contact us directly in our email. So thank you, and sorry for different goes and comes.
Thank you, Isa. And now we move to the last one. We are a bit late in time, but I will rush as much as possible. So this one actually comes from a bachelor thesis by Rachel Staffa. And and Rachel is here, I think Maraya is also here, and Sasha is here. So it was that good that we encourage her to shape it to a manuscript, and Maraya and myself co-supervised that. In the journey of a manuscript, we realized that we were missing the perspective of disability, so we invite Sasha Kosanik to write a box. So this is the story of a feminist ethos for caring knowledge production in social-ecological systems research and sustainability science. We draw in the seminal work by Maria Puig de la Bella Casa, Matters of Care, who argues that to produce knowledge with care, we need to look at three aspects: thinking with, dissenting within, and thinking for. Thinking with talks about beyond dualisms, to recognize all the to consider all the multiplicity of society-nature relations, and to value the role of emotions and feelings. Dissenting within asks us to commit actively with difference, with diversity, even if this means conflict, to critically reflect on our own positionality, but also on power-laden research context. And thinking for calls on us to include marginalized voices, to reflect also, at the same time, to reflect also on the dangers of appropriating them, and to actively work to diversify the community of scientists and praxis partners. So more concrete actions. So thinking with would be to accept and engage with the multiple ways of societies relate with nature, and to allow strong emotions and feelings to emerge in our daily work life. Based on that, to collectively build structures of mutual support and to nurture diverse communication skills. Dissenting within talks about accept and discuss openly different conflicting needs and expectations, and to jointly define rules of communication and engagement in the group, as also for external support to moderate conflicts. And I know this is the privilege of having some resources in some institutes, but also interrogate the positionalities and power of ourselves and make them transparent. And thinking for talks about showing commitment to analyze, criticize, and transform injustice, to pursue a very cautious and respectful approach to speak with and to speak to marginalized partners, to compensate for their time, for their resources, and use methods that allow them to express in their own voice. Also use intersectional approach to diversify our praxis partners, and intersectional approach to actively work for the inclusion of underrepresented scholars. As cross-cutting issues, we can also think there are increasing discussions about motherhood, but researchers, we are also caregivers of elderly members in our family and other people, and we are human beings in need of care as well. Resist the increasing pressure to do it all and say no. Realize our ability of humor and celebrate each other's successes. And this is why we start with the question a few minutes ago. Celebrate slowness, to be slow, to pause. Reward careful practice when we see a paper, a proposal, an application where this is part of their philosophy. And commit with particular struggles, because honestly, we cannot take care of everything. So I hope that with this, we can embark ourselves in innovative, careful venues to enact transformation in our research. And for that, let's start discussing. So we will do 10 to 15 minutes of question and answer, then 10 minutes of a caring reflexive practice, and we'll finish with 5 minutes of haikus. And with that, I will leave Jasmine to facilitate the dialogue.
Wonderful, thank you.